Hello again, everybody. It's great to see you all again. I hope you had a great day, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the 2021 USC Libraries Wonderland Awards ceremony. I'd like to offer a really special welcome to those of you of the Society who are joining us, and I'm so glad you're able to do this, even though it's virtually, though that doesn't seem to be hampering any of the conversation in any way at all, which is just great. With the encouragement of Linda and George, when I joined USC a number of years ago, the Wonderland Award was really restricted to USC students. And you will all know Linda and George, so you will not be surprised to know that they encouraged us to think more broadly about the Wonderland Award. So we then extended it to other universities in the area. We then extended it to Southern California. And now we've extended it to the United States in general. And I'm really pleased that this year we have our very first East Coast participant from Columbia University. So welcome to everybody near and far, and we're so glad you're with us this afternoon. So I think, as you all know, the Wonderland Award celebrates Lewis Carroll and his enduring influence on scholarship, creative practice, and popular culture. And it also is a great occasion for us to showcase the world-class G. Edward Cassady, MD, and Margaret Elizabeth Cassady, RN Lewis Carroll collection. And the focus of the award really is that collection. We invite students to come to explore the collection, see what they can find to reimagine and reinterpret the life and work of Lewis Carroll. And through that process, we want them to invent something new. And that something new can be just about anything. It can be a poem, it can be a painting, it can be a card game, a sculpture, a movie, a song. And over my years here, I've seen just about everything. But every year, the students still surprise me and they come up with another format or another medium. And the only real requirement is that the students have to demonstrate that they've engaged in a meaningful way, either with our collection or with the collection at their home institution. So usually we have this occasion on site. You're able to go and tour the exhibition, you talk to the students. This year, as you saw, we did it all virtually. And it's just been amazing to me how it's been so real to interact with the exhibition itself and to see the diversity of entries. We've seen puzzles on writings on mathematics. We've seen people use his philosophical treatises and investigations of the paranormal, and all the ways that Lewis Carroll imaginatively engaged with his world through thoughtful observation, creative making, and inventive scholarship. And we're fortunate that those many faces of Lewis Carroll live in the Cassady collection, and that we're able to share that collection with so many of our students, our faculty, and scholars across the world. Now, this is the part that George Cassady really, really hates every year. And every year he wants me not to do it, but every year I have to say no to George every now and then. But I want to thank George, because this collection would not have come. Thank you, Linda. He's gone off camera now too, hasn't he? Thanks, George. Good. But I want to just say that the collection would not have come to USC without George's dedication, hard work, and his tireless Carrollian spirit. George is an emeritus member of the USC Libraries Board of Counselors, and the only reason I accepted his resignation as an active member of the board was because Linda agreed to become a member of our board.
Nepotism.
It's a good thing in some circumstances, and this is one of them. And as you've seen from George's apparel, he's also a USC alumnus and a proud one. As you know, he's a rare book collector, and he's a lifelong devotee of all things Lewis Carroll. George also holds the position of Research Professor of Bibliography at USC. In 2000, George donated his collection to USC Libraries, and the collection includes many, many wonderful items, including rare first editions of Alice's Adventures in Wonderlands, philosophical works that reveal Carroll's polymathic worldview, translations from the world over, and all the work submitted to the Wonderland Award over the last 17 years. And I have to say, our students take that really, really seriously. We hire close to 200 students across our libraries, and when I look at their CVs and applications, a number of them proudly say that their scholarly output is part of our special collections and part of the Lewis Carroll collection. So it really is a meaningful thing to our students to have their entries added to our collection. Now, this is the part that embarrasses Linda. So just to show that I can be an equal embarrasser for the Cassadys. George's wife, Linda, is an accomplished Carrollian in her own right. She founded this event in 2005 and has generously sponsored the prizes every year since. Linda has really been the guiding hand that makes this award so delightful and so meaningful to our students, and pushes me to make sure that we continue to make sure the exhibitions are widely known, the student work is treasured on this campus, and that we create ways in which the output of our students can be recognized and celebrated. In addition to leading the Lewis Carroll Society of North America, Linda also serves on our Board of Counselors. And through the Wonderland Award and her work on our board, Linda shares her playful spirit, her academic vision, and her inspiring generosity with us all every year. So I'd like to ask you to join me in thanking Linda and George for everything they do for our students, our libraries, and our university, and in welcoming Linda to continue our program.
Thank you, Dean Quinlan. You're always extremely generous. So there are a couple of things I want to say before I talk about how we judge the awards. So I have 15 minutes, keep me on track here. First of all, in terms of contribution, I have everybody to thank, the 35 people who did the exhibition work and the technical work at USC, the dean. And the Lewis Carroll Society actually supports by awarding the prize money to the first place winner of the Wonderland Award. And so there's an anonymous donor who started that, and now it's one of the restricted funds of the organization. And we encourage people to contribute to that because there's a second place award, and there is a third place award that the dean has supported for the last 3 years called the Bellman, sorry, Bellman Award. Ding, ding. So I want to thank those people. And then Byron, I think, talked about it this morning about Carroll being a platform for parity. And I think, and Carroll has been the platform for bringing students and young people to Lewis Carroll, because we've been very concerned in the LCSNA about how you encourage young people to join or be part of this society and this world of Carroll. And I think that this award does that. It is also to Joel Birnbaum's interest about a great reflection of Carroll and the popular culture and what's going on. This year, you're seeing students write about a pandemic, about Black Lives Matter, about women's issues. We, in the last 16 or 17 years, have seen very little political, if you will, discussion in their artist statement. So this year has made a difference. And I think that this competition has shown us what that is. And that's good, I think, for archive in libraries and also for us generally to be aware of that the pieces that are created are not totally about Lewis Carroll, but how Lewis Carroll really affects them in their heart and what they learned from it. So to me, one of the criteria when I'm as a judge, and this is, I don't know if this is right or not, is the artist statement. So there's an artist statement required of every student. It used to be that they just submitted their piece. I couldn't understand the poetry. So I called a couple of students up and said, can you help me on the background of this? And so we found out that we didn't understand what they were thinking or know what the contents or the background of their pieces were. So it's a requirement now, and I find it very important. And my goal is looking at that, and you'll see the schedule that there are people who are doing videos who are in non-video and television production. And so my love is seeing students who have moved from one place in knowledge to another place. It would be not mostly because I like that as it applies to Carroll, but I also like it as it applies personally. So there are students who've told us, and I believe them at the moment, that this was the most important thing that had happened to them in years or in their stay at the university. And that's power. So that's what the award is about, really, power for students. Sorry. So to the award, there are 5 categories that we look for. The judges meet when the judges meet, and those are quality, Crowleyan spirit, the artist statement, and originality. So the judges are generally selected almost a year in advance, but sometimes when we get a sense of what's going on in the world or the university, we will ask another person to submit, particularly like if we're seeing film or we know a professor has recommended something. So we did add one additional judge this year, and that was Catherine Richards, because she has great Crowleyan experience and theater experience, plays. So she was added and committed an enormous amount of time to judging. So I want to particularly thank her. The other judges that we have this year, we always engage one of the student winners from the last year or two to participate in the judging. This year, with several augmented reality VR pieces, I thought, oh my God, I might be old. That was really hard for me to do the gallery work. And for a student, this is, like they do this all the time. So Brianna is a PhD candidate in English literature and a current Mellon Council for the European Studies Fellow at the University of Southern California. She writes on female adolescence and narrative, and she has forthcoming articles in the Johns Hopkins Journal ELH, the Georgia Review, the 19th Century Literature, and in 2019, she received second prize for the Wonderland Awards for her lyrics in moving music called Red Kings. And she was a magnificent judge this year. Molly Bendel is a USC professor of English and creative writing and literature. And she's published 5 collections of poetry, received the Eunice Trajan's Prize for Poetry magazine, the Linda Hall Award from the Denver Quality, and 2 pushcarts prizes. I rely on her incredibly for review of poetry in particular, and also for her very succinct and critical ways of looking at all of the writing projects that are submitted. She's been a judge in the competition since 2016, and I see no way that I can't ask her to permanently do this. And I think that Molly seems to enjoy it. The next judge is Peter Hanf. He is the deputy director of the Bancroft Library at the University of California in Berkeley. He is the quintessential book collector, knowledge of bibliographic at the library. He is a noted scholar of the author of Frank Baum and Lewis Carroll, and he's on the board of directors of the Wizard of Oz Club. He has been a judge in the Carroll and the Wonderland Award, I think about 3 or 4 times, and I really also appreciate his thoughtful and scholarly knowledge on it. Lisa Little is the founder of an architecture company called Vertebra and Layer, and she currently teaches graduate and undergraduate level design studio courses at the University of Southern California. She also was the architect for our deck. Just by chance, it was wild. And she's very thoughtful. As you see, we have 2 students this year from the architecture program. They submit a lot of pieces in art and obviously design. And so we really appreciate her input. She holds a master's of architecture from USC. She has recent projects that are private residence, large scale works. She has been a noted designer and architect within the Los Angeles area and other design companies. So I want to thank her. Catherine Richards. She is a consultant pediatric surgeon practicing in London, and she participates in a number of research projects and supporting various arts and humanity organizations. She is a top Carolian scholar that contributes and has developed with her husband, Mark, to the Lewis Carroll Resources.net page. She has the most magnificent Alice postcard collection in the world. That's true. And she is a Seville Clark and Alice expert. She has positions in the Griffin Educational Trust and the Lewis Carroll Society. So I want to thank all of those judges. It's a powerful and creative group who've made a really tough decision. The way decisions are made is pretty remarkable. What happens is on a particular day, usually we meet personally. This was a Zoom meeting, which causes inherent issues in terms of the art and installation work. But we meet, we review, before that, Tyson does the organization of sending out all of the student work. It's submitted usually around April 1st. The award is around now, April 21st. And judges have that period of time to score each project on the criteria that I just told you about. You have to score every piece, and then when we gather together, we look at and review every piece. That includes watching the videos, that's including looking at the art and handling it. This time, Tyson had to do a little more heavy lifting because we didn't actually have the ability to look at like the cube and the cards, some of the installation work. And it goes pretty well for a couple of hours where we talk about our scores, and there's a 17-point scoring system, at which time there's a cut score created. And then we sit in silence for about 45 minutes. And your job as a judge is to go to the mat for the winner. So sometimes it's obvious who you think the first and second place winner should be. And other times, like this time and the last time, you look at the work and you read the artist statement, and it has such meaning that it's difficult, almost impossible to select the winner. So that was what we get stuck. And so that's what we did, is we got stuck. It took us an hour to get unstuck, and then we determined who the 2 winners are. So when I look at this, it's a way that brings Carroll from the library to the students and students from outside into the library. I'm delighted that we're getting out of California submissions and stuff like that. So that is the background, with the exception of, I didn't tell you that we have no idea when we go into it where the student is from, nor do we know what their major is. So it's a competition, a poem that's 3 like 3 stanzas long versus a 125-page play is judged against each other. We've asked the students if they want categories, and they're game for the total competition of one-on-one, head-on evaluation of my material. Some of them, I guess one of the things that I really remember the most is that a student said to me, I've never submitted an artist statement. So the concept that they view themselves as artists or creators, sometimes that happens for the first time in this competition. Sorry about all the conversation, but I just think it's amazing. So what I want to talk about is there are 3 awards, the Bellman's Prize, second and first award, and that's the order that we're going to go in. So the Bellman's Prize was established in 2018 by the Dean of the USC Libraries, and it was named after the bellman in Carroll's nonsense poem, The Hunting of the Snark. And it's given to a student who best uses the blank ocean map, thinking it's empty. There's no direction. I'm not sure where I'm going. And I'm not sure if I'm going to get there. And it may be a project that tried to find a snark and may have found a boojum. But it's done differently. The person took a risk and tried something maybe they didn't know how to do. It could be any of those. So in the winner for the Bellman's Prize this year, a professor challenged a class to use the Carroll collection. And while there, this particular student ran into an exhibit that was being set up for a theater group who was creating an Alice in Wonderland play, actually, in Pasadena. And so while they were there, they viewed the materials in the collection as well as from Wonderland Awards students. And the idea began with a conversation in their mind because they were encouraged to use this collection for their theater project. And it was about how an autistic child who was quite absolute in their thinking or truth said, if broccoli tastes bad, it must be bad for you. So and he also said that this autistic friend, refused to accept that in Charlotte's web, Charlotte dies. So he ended up thinking that he would look at the way people sometimes accept that there's negativity and that truth is absolute, and maybe it's not. So I want you to meet Ray, a 9-year-old autistic boy in Oklahoma, and his mother, Gianna, who is incarcerated. She tells Ray she's in Wonderland, as in going to Wonderland, a game they played in stressful times, and Ray ends up with his relatives. Ray finds a copy of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland in school and begins to read it. He uses the book as a guide, along with several conjured muses or advisors, to find his mother. In the end, there is a trial, and despite all evidence, Ray wanted to believe in Wonderland and that he could find his mother. When he's had his woke moment, it's not safely under a tree with his head in the lap of anyone. Congratulations to Carlyn Flint, a USC MFA student with a major in dramatic writing, for a 90-page full-length play. And we would like to thank Carlyn. I think she was here earlier. So what we'd like to do is ask the student to maybe give us several minutes of how they developed their story and what specific meaning it had for them. So Carolyn is here. Hello.
Thank you. Yeah, this play, I definitely did start in one place and end somewhere else. Because I went, our professor invited us to explore the Wonderland collection last like spring. So January 2020. And I started going there, and at first I started with his math puzzles. And I actually started writing an entirely different play that was like an interactive experience. And then I took a bunch of books out of the library about Lewis Carroll. And then when COVID hit, I took them home with me. And then I came back to Tulsa, where I used to live and have spent like the past year during COVID. And so I guess this character was based, I used to be a teacher here in Tulsa, and then I now teach kids online, I tutor online. And so I have a student who Ray is very much based on, those were a lot of real conversations. So as I researched all of this stuff, I started to feel like, well, I was actually researching Lewis Carroll with his students and reading those letters. And I started to write a whole play about Lewis Carroll and his students, and it wasn't going anywhere. And I actually had this weird challenge where I had to write a draft of this play in 2 weeks, because they didn't like that I wanted to write a new play for my thesis. So after 1 week, I scrapped everything I had and spent a week writing about this student and my relationship. And it became a play about a kid whose mother is incarcerated, mainly because living in Tulsa, I was a teacher with a lot of students whose parents were incarcerated. And actually, Tulsa Oklahoma incarcerates more people per capita than any place in the world. And it has the highest rate of female incarceration, mostly on drug charges. So I just want to thank you guys so much, because it kind of would never have happened without this prompt. And I'm really grateful that I got sent on this journey. And I'm really proud of this play. So thank you guys so much.
Welcome. Okay. Thank you so much. It's a very personal piece, and it's a wonderful piece. And then the second, okay, there's Brianna.
Hi. Hi, thank you. It was such an honor to engage with each of these projects, and it's really an honor to get to present the second prize winner. So while thinking about this entry, the judges discussed the many themes, images, and emotions that this project evoked for us. Central to this discussion was the question of identity and what it means to become someone. As I continued thinking about this project, I found myself returning most often to the question of what it means to become a woman, and particularly about what it means for a woman to become an artist in her own right. How do the spaces we occupy, the traditions we echo, and the names others use for us change our understanding of who we are? Lewis Carroll's Alice asks, "Who am I?" hoping perhaps for a simple answer. But identity is a manifold thing. In a single day, one can be a girl riding an escalator down to the metro, a wanderer in our beloved city of Los Angeles, a reader of French feminist theory, a writer, and a filmmaker. None of these identities are singular. There are other girls on escalators, other wanderers, other readers. When put together, however, they become something, or rather someone, unique. By weaving together wide-ranging literary references, musical genres, and visual cues to films of the French New Wave, this project traces out a new way of answering Alice's question. In doing so, it also offers a way of paying homage to past artists while finding an artistic voice of one's own. We're delighted to award second prize to Alexis Patton for writing, directing, filming, editing, and just producing this wonderful film, La Nouvelle Alice. Alexis, we'd like to give you the opportunity to say a few words if you would like.
Oh, thank you so much. I am so very honored. And I can't tell you how exciting it was to make this piece. You know, Alice, and I mean, Lewis Carroll is such an innovator. And I think that's something that I want to do in my own art, and that I'm referring to French New Wave directors who really revolutionized the film industry. And of course, I have a background in Romance languages and literatures, and so I come from an academic perspective as well. And it's not often that one as an artist can combine the intellect, the intelligentsia, the academic backbone with the creative process. And it was just really exciting. And I have to say to your group, thank you for giving us the opportunity to be so creative. And I think I just want to say something really personal here, and it's something that I don't share with many people at all. But I feel a good deal like Alice in some ways, because a number of years ago I was hit by a car, and that completely turned my life upside down. It was catastrophic, and there's been a lot of deep, dark abysses through the rehabilitation after that accident, and something like Alice and literature and film, these things which take your soul, and it's just exciting to be part of creating new life and new art. And I want to thank you all so much. To the other people who entered, who I've seen all of your work, which is spectacular, to all the people who put on the galleries, which are incredible, and to the judges, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're on,
Hi,
Lisa.
thank you. Hi, everyone. Let me just say first what an incredible pleasure it is to be a part of this group of people who meet and review all these wonderful submissions. I'm from the School of Architecture, and I feel like sometimes we're very isolated over there, and it's just a wonderful experience to get out and interact with my colleagues and Linda and just review so much diverse work, all in the spirit of the Wonderland Awards. So I'm going to be speaking about the first prize. So the submission that is receiving first prize today was conceived, and the research started even before the beginning of the pandemic. And I mention that because it sort of speaks to the amount of effort and intensity that went into this entry. The artist statement was extremely detailed, and Linda mentioned how important these artist statements have become in terms of the understanding of the work and the appreciation of the work. And this particular statement clearly indicated a passion and clear commitment to the project. The statement was also, it also carefully described the process in great detail, both in terms of the design and in terms of the making. The entire endeavor lasted months, and the final work clearly indicates both influence and study of the Cassady collection, so the Cassady Lewis Carroll collection. So the student even discussed visiting and revisiting the collection in the process of the final work. So the entrance creative process strove to blend image and prose by combining samples of text from Carroll and the drawings of Tenniel. The images were modified by carefully eliminating lines and strokes. And to quote from the statement directly, I erased key lines from the original illustrations and used dialogue from the story to complete the images. In this way, I was manipulating the illustrations to highlight the symbiotic relationship of Carroll and Tenniel. So for me, I personally find this entry to be delightful and whimsical. And these are not words I use normally, but they suit this entry perfectly. But I also want to sort of say that I think that the entry falls in very clearly in the category of art, in the sense that the more you look at the entry, the more there is to notice, the more there is to interpret. There's a level of detail that you see when you're further away from the piece, and then as you get closer, there's more that you can notice, and as you get closer, there's more that you can notice. So repeated viewings yield new readings, which for me is a sort of pretty textbook definition of art. So the work is an appropriately out of scale pack of 13 playing cards rendered in wood and inspired by Tenniel's process of facsimile engraving. The entire set lives and was delivered in its own oversized playing card box, and the entire entry is incredibly well crafted, and I think it meets the entrant's own goal of being perfectly imperfect. And so
this year's winner of the Wonderland Awards goes to Anna Collier for her submittal entitled "Why They're Only a Pack of Cards After All." Anna is a USC graduate student going for her master's degree in literary editing and publishing, and she receives her BA in 2020 in creative writing, also from USC. So huge congratulations to Anna. And Anna, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Thank you, everyone. I hate public speaking, so I wasn't intending to say anything. But this whole process was so much fun. I almost gave up on it so many times because things kept going wrong. But from start to finish, I just had so much fun coming up with how to create these cards. And as you mentioned from my artist statement, it began as just erasing lines from the illustrations. And then after visiting the collection a second time, I was like, why not put them on wood? Even though I'm an English major, I have no idea how to do that. So it took a lot of trial and error. And I'm happy with the results, and I'm glad you guys were too. And I hope everyone gets a chance to see them potentially in person someday. I don't know. But thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, Anna, but I think Tyson is going to show us the cards because I can see the chat like lighting up, like everyone wanting to see. So Tyson?
Right, yeah, so here is the entire package that Anna delivered. It actually came in another box. So this is the box within the box. And as everyone can see, it's got Tenniel's monogram there. And it is supersized. And you open it up and the cards are, again, suitably enormous and thick and really well done. Thick wooden board here that she handcrafted. And I encourage everyone to go into the virtual galleries and read her artist statement where she talks all about her failures along the way and eventual success. There you go.
Yes, there were many failures. You can read all about them. But yeah, thank you all so much.
And where can we buy our limited edition?
Okay, Dean Quinlan, I think you're up next.
I'm cleaning up here.
Yes.
So that was, Tyson, I'm so glad you could show us the cards. I mean, the description of there's something, but seeing them, and maybe next year when we're on site, we should try and have, our award winners back and display some of this year's items as well as next year's, just so people can have a chance to sort of see them and see them in person. But, I'd like to not stand between you and your social hour any longer, but I just want to finish by thanking all of our judges, Linda and George, of course, and, the judges who did this incredibly difficult job of narrowing down this field of really deserving and inspiring submissions. And as Tyson said, if you haven't had a chance to visit the e-gallery, I'd really strongly encourage you to do it. It's just such a cool way to showcase the entries this year. I'd also like to thank our anonymous donor who supported this year's prizes. Congratulations once more to all of our winners. You are incredibly deserving of this award. You've done such huge imaginative and creative work. It really is inspiring. And I'm so glad that Linda and George were able to help us recognize your many accomplishments. So this concludes the formal part of our award program. I'd like to encourage everybody to remain here with us for the Lewis Carroll Society's evening social hours. And I'd like to ask our winners and judges also to remain online because we'd like to capture a photo to celebrate this year's awards. So thank you and enjoy your evening.
So Tyson, we can spotlight everybody, right?
Yeah, we're working on it.
Okay, just making sure we can do it. That's all.
Sorry, this is just going to take a minute. It's a little tricky to do.
You guys are so spectacular.
I'll
Thank you
say.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Linda, and Brianna, and Catherine, and
Peter.
Peter, Molly, and Lisa.
Oh, okay, Tyson, I think, is that everybody?
Think so, yes. Okay. How about, can we get the fight on, does everybody know that one? Well, Catherine, I don't think you do, but maybe you could see what everybody's doing there. Okay,
I'll
ready?
do a Trojan.
1, 2, 3. And let's do one more just to be safe. Awesome. I think that did it. Thank you guys. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you. What a great year.
Congratulations to the
Thank you.
winners.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I want to say too, thank you whoever made those galleries because they were absolutely wonderful.
Was that Curtis and his team at Almondson?
It was absolutely Curtis and Samir, yes.
Wow.
And Tyson and Anne-Marie did all the writing of the material, which I thought was very thoughtful and showed a lot of love on their part and knowledge, actually. They didn't start out as Crowleyans, but they certainly are now. And so, I really loved it. I thought it was actually easier to view stuff that way. Sometimes what usually happens is everyone is in a room and it's crowded, it's hard to see, and particularly in the written material, you get a document, so now you'll be able to see that. I think there's a lot of advantages to what we did today. So I'm glad you appreciated it.